My brothers, my sisters, let me tell you something powerful today. There is a psalm in the word, a psalm that the rich know, the wise understand, but the poor often ignore. Not because the poor cannot read it, not because the poor do not have access to it, but because they do not live it, they do not apply it, they let it pass over their heads. That psalm is Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Think about that for a second. The rich man may not even have the same faith as you, but he understands the principle hidden inside. I shall not want. This is not just words to repeat in church. This is a mindset. It is a lifestyle. It is the declaration of abundance. The rich live with expectation, with certainty, with confidence. They declare, I shall not want, and they walk as though lack is not part of their destiny. But too often, the poor ignore this. They recite the psalm, but they do not embody it. They say the words, but they still live in fear of tomorrow, in fear of bills, in fear of opportunities. Let me tell you, poverty is not only about money, it is about mindset. The poor ignore the psalm because they think it is only about comfort after death, about heaven after life. But the rich decode it. It is about faith here and now. It is about walking with God's assurance that lack has no authority in your life. Listen closely. The psalm says he makes me lie down in green pasture. Green pastures represent abundance, opportunities, resources, connections. The rich seek the green pastures and they expect to find them. The poor complain about dry land and forget that God promised green. The psalm says he restores my soul. Restoration is power. Restoration is vision. Restoration is the energy to build again when you lose, to rise again when you fall. The rich know restoration is part of the covenant. The poor ignore it, saying life is unfair instead of standing back up. The psalm says, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. The rich walk boldly into business risks, investments, and challenges because they understand that fear is the valley, but faith is the path through it. The poor ignore this and let fear paralyze them. And finally, the psalm declares, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Rich people understand that goodness and mercy are not luck. They are a lifestyle. They wake up expecting goodness. They expect favor. They walk into doors believing mercy is on their side. But the poor ignore this truth and live like life is always against them, like the world owes them nothing but pain. So what is the difference? The psalm has not changed. The word has not changed. The shepherd has not changed. The only difference is who applies it and who ignores it. The rich know it, they live it, they practice it. The poor ignore it, they recite it but don't believe it. Today I challenge you, stop ignoring the psalm. Stop living like lack is your destiny. Stop living like fear is your inheritance. Begin to live like the shepherd is truly yours. Walk with boldness. Declare over your life, I shall not want, not tomorrow, not someday, today. When David declared in Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, he wasn't simply writing poetry. He was establishing a law of mindset and faith that separates those who walk in abundance from those who stay stuck in lack. These words are not just a comfort in times of sorrow, they are a code for living. The rich understand this code, but the poor often ignore it. Think about the weight of those words, I shall not want. That is not a request, not a wish, not a begging prayer. That is a declaration of confidence, a declaration of faith, a declaration that lack does not belong to me, that shortage has no place in my life, that poverty cannot be my destiny. Now here's the difference. The rich man, whether he is deeply religious or not, lives by this mindset. He believes in provision, in resources, in opportunities, and he walks with expectation that life will open doors for him. When the rich encounter challenges, they don't say, I can't afford this. Instead, they say, how can I afford this? How can I make this work? They expect solution. They expect provision. But the poor often recite the psalm without embodying it. They say, I shall not want on Sunday. But by Monday, they are drowning in fear of bills, fear of tomorrow, fear of failure. They repeat the words, but they don't let the words reshape their thinking. They let worry choke the promise. Let me tell you the truth. Poverty is not just a lack of money. It is a lack of belief, a lack of vision, a lack of confidence in God's provision. When you ignore this psalm, you accept lack as normal. But when you live this psalm, you reject lack as an intruder in your destiny. The words, I shall not want, mean I refuse to live in constant fear of tomorrow. It means I choose to walk in faith that every need I have will be met. It means I live with the expectation that abundance belongs to me because I walk with the shepherd. Look around the world and study those who are wealthy and successful. You'll notice something. They may not quote Psalm 23, but they live as though it were written in their DNA. They live with certainty, not hesitation. They live with boldness, not fear. They act like provision will come, and guess what? It does. Because faith, whether you call it spiritual or mindset, draws provision to you. On the other hand, the poor often sabotage themselves by repeating words of defeat. They say things like, life is hard, nothing ever works for me, I can't catch a break, I'll always be in debt. Do you see what's happening? While the psalm says, I shall not want, their mouths declare, I shall always lack. And as they speak it, they live it. This is why the rich know the psalm and the poor ignore it. The rich understand that abundance starts in the mind and they protect their thinking. The poor ignore the mindset and live in survival mode, waiting for miracles while ignoring the law of fate. But here is the good news. You have the power to change today. You don't need millions in your bank account to live this psalm. You only need to believe it, to declare it, and to walk in it. Every morning before you step into the world, speak it with conviction. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Let it shape your decisions, your confidence, your boldness. Because once you embrace this truth, you shift from being a victim of lack to being a master of abundance. You stop waiting for provision to come, and you start expecting it. And expectation is the magnet of miracles. So I tell you again, Psalm 23 is not just for funerals, not just for church, not just for rituals. It is a living, breathing declaration of provision. And the rich know it. The question is, will you keep ignoring it or will you finally start living it? Psalm 23 continues with these powerful words. He makes me lie down in green pastures. My friend, that is not just a beautiful metaphor about nature, it is a divine guarantee of abundance. It is a promise that God does not lead his people into famine, but into fullness, not into emptiness, but into overflow. The rich understand this hidden code, but the poor often ignore it. What are green pastures? They are symbols of opportunity, resources, provision, and peace. They represent the place where you can feed, grow, and thrive. A sheep cannot survive in a barren desert. It needs green grass to flourish. In the same way, your soul, your family, and your destiny need fertile ground to prosper. The shepherd promises to take you there. The problem is, while the rich expect the green pastures, the poor often focus only on the dry ground. The rich wake up looking for opportunity. They walk into life expecting to find something fresh, something alive, something that will feed their vision. They position themselves in rooms, in conversations, in investments, in places where grass is green. They believe abundance is waiting for them, and because they believe it, they often find it. But the poor ignore this promise. They look around at their current struggles, their current environment, and they say, this is all there is. Life is barren. Life is hard. They convince themselves that green pastures are for others, not for them. Instead of seeking them, they settle for the desert. They stop expecting, and when you stop expecting, you stop seeing. Let me tell you something powerful. Your life follows your expectation. If you believe there are green pastures waiting for you, you will keep moving, keep seeking, keep knocking until you find them. But if you believe there is only wilderness, you will stay stuck in the wilderness, even though abundance might be right around the corner. Notice the psalm says, he makes me lie down in green pastures. That means rest. That means provision. So abundant that you can actually relax instead of constantly struggling to survive. Many poor people live in survival mode, fighting for scraps, never experiencing rest, not because God didn't promise it, but because they ignored the promise. The rich, however, understand rest. They position themselves in systems and investments that allow them to rest while abundance continues to flow. They look for fertile soil and sow their seeds there. They don't waste their energy in barren ground. They move strategically toward the green pastures and trust the shepherd to guide them. Now, don't misunderstand this. Green pastures don't always mean instant wealth or a life free from work. They mean being in the right environment, under the right guidance, in the right opportunities where your efforts bear fruit. You can work yourself to death in dry land and never see results. But in green pastures, one seed produces a harvest. The tragedy is that many people are living their whole lives in barren land, wrong relationships, wrong jobs, wrong environments, ignoring the call to move toward green pasture. They settle for less while the shepherd has promised more. But you don't have to stay there. The same shepherd who promised green pastures to David promises them to you. The question is, will you believe it? Will you seek it? Will you expect it? Stop focusing on the dry ground. Stop believing that scarcity is your only option. Start declaring, my shepherd leads me to green pastures. My life is not meant for famine. My destiny is not meant for lack. I am guided to abundance. When you live with that mindset, your eyes will open to opportunities you once ignored. Your spirit will recognize doors you once walked past. And step by step, the shepherd will take you out of the desert and into the green. Because abundance is promised. Abundance is your inheritance. The promises ignored are promises wasted. Don't ignore this one. Live it. Seek it. Believe it. Walk in it. The rich know this truth. The poor ignore it. Which one will you choose? Psalm 23 doesn't stop at provision or green pasture. It goes further. He restores my soul. Now pause and let that sink in. Restoration, renewal, revival. This is not just poetry, it is power. It is the secret ingredient that keeps the rich rising again and again while the poor remain stuck in the cycle of defeat. Restoration means more than healing. It means God gives you back what life tried to steal. It means he replenishes the energy, the vision, and the drive to keep moving forward when you've been knocked down. The rich understand restoration as a natural part of the process. The poor often ignore it, believing that once they fall, they are finished. Let's be honest. Everybody falls. Everybody loses. Everybody has valleys where they feel drained, tired, or broken. The difference between the rich and the poor is not that the rich never fail. It's that the rich rise again. They expect restoration. They see every loss as temporary. They treat failure as a chapter, not the end of the book. But the poor, too often when they fall, they stay down. They give up. They let bitterness take root. They say, what's the point? Nothing will change. They ignore the promise that he restores my soul. They let their pain define them instead of letting God's restoration refine them. Restoration is resilience. Think about it. When a storm breaks a tree, some trees die, but others grow back stronger. Why? Because their roots are deep and they draw from the source of renewal. The same is true in life. The rich, the successful, the resilient, they have learned how to tap into restoration. They don't just survive storms, they grow from them. When God says, I will restore your soul, he's saying, I will give you back your courage. I will refresh your mind. I will heal your brokenness. I will put you back on your feet. That's resilience. That's the key that allows you to keep moving forward when others will quit. Here's the truth. Life will always test you. Failures, betrayals, losses, disappointments. They are part of the journey. You cannot avoid them. But restoration is God's guarantee that none of those things are permanent. You can bounce back. You can rise again. You can rebuild stronger. The rich understand this principle even if they never quote the song. Look at entrepreneurs, leaders, visionaries. They fail more times than anyone else, but they also rise more times than anyone else. Why? Because they've internalized the law of restoration. They believe that every setback is a setup for a comeback. Meanwhile, many poor people ignore this principle. They let one job loss break them forever. They let one rejection crush their self-worth. They let one betrayal make them bitter for life. They don't realize that their soul can be restored, that their vision can be renewed, that their energy can return. You see, the shepherd doesn't just lead you to abundance. He restores you when life drains you. Restoration is God's way of making sure you never stay empty. It's like refilling your cup after it's been poured out. And until you embrace restoration, you will live your life half empty, dragging your feet, weighed down by yesterday. But when you accept it, when you believe he restores my soul, you rise differently. You walk differently. You face challenges with the confidence that even if you fall today, you will rise tomorrow. That even if you lose now, you will recover later. That no valley can permanently destroy a soul that God himself restores. So I challenge you, stop believing that your failures define you. Stop living as if your story is over just because you've been broken. Begin to declare over your life, I am restored. My energy is renewed. My vision is clear. My soul is alive again. Because restoration is not a maybe. It is a promise. The rich know this, and that's why they rise again and again. The poor ignore it, and that's why they stay down. But today you can choose differently. Today you can walk in restoration. Today you can rise again. Psalm 23:4 declares, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. This verse carries one of the greatest keys to success, resilience, and breakthrough, the choice between fear and faith. Every person faces valleys. Every person walks through shadows. But what separates the rich from the poor, the strong from the weak, the victors from the victims, is how they walk through those valleys. Notice the scripture does not say, if I walk through the valley. It says, though I walk. That means valleys are inevitable. Trouble will come. Uncertainty will come. Darkness will come. The question is not whether you will face challenges. The question is whether you will let fear control you or whether you will let faith guide you. The rich understand that valleys are part of the journey. They walk into risk, into uncertainty, into challenges, but they do it with boldness. They say, I will fear no evil. Why? Because they believe on the other side of the valley is growth, reward, and new opportunity. They treat valleys as tunnels, dark for a season, but always leading somewhere better. The poor, on the other hand, often stop in the valley. They let fear freeze them in place. Fear tells them don't try, don't risk, don't move forward. So they stay stuck in the shadow, never realizing it was only meant to be a passage, not a permanent home. Fear convinces them that the valley is their destiny, while faith would have carried them through. Let's break this down. Fear magnifies the shadow. Fear makes the valley look darker than it is. Fear tells you if you try, you'll fail. If you step out, you'll lose. If you dream, you'll be disappointed. And so many people never take the step. They live small, they play safe, they settle, but safety is not success. Comfort is not destiny. Faith, however, speaks a different language. Faith says, yes, the valley is real, but the shepherd is with me. Faith says, yes, the shadow looks dark, but shadows only exist where there is light. Faith sees beyond the valley to the victory. Faith keeps walking, even trembling, because it knows that fear cannot stop what God has already promised. The rich apply this principle constantly. When others run from risk, they walk into it with wisdom and courage. When others hide from opportunities because of fear or failure, they step forward with faith that even if they stumble, they will rise. That's why they succeed. It's not that they don't feel fear, it's that they refuse to let fear be the driver. The poor ignore this principle. They confuse fear with safety. They think playing small is wisdom, when in reality it's bondage. They let the valley define their limits. They allow fear to whisper louder than faith, and so they never see the green pastures that lie beyond the shadow. But here's the truth. The shepherd is with you in the valley. That means you are never walking alone. Fear tries to make you forget that, but faith reminds you of it. Fear says the valley will swallow you. Faith says the valley will shape you. Fear says this is the end. Faith says this is the passage. Every great breakthrough requires walking through a valley. Every story of success carries a chapter of shadows. The rich know it, the poor ignore it. The question is, what will you do? Will you freeze in fear or will you walk in faith? So declare boldly over your life. Though I walk through the valley, I will fear no evil. Let that be your battle cry. Because fear may be loud, but faith is stronger. Fear may be present, but faith is permanent. Fear wants to paralyze you, but faith will propel you. Keep walking, keep believing, keep moving. The valley is not your grave. It is your pathway to greatness. Psalm 23:6 declares, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Think about that word, surely. Not maybe, not sometimes, not if I'm lucky, but surely. That is certainty. That is confidence. That is expectation. This is the verse that the rich understand deeply, but the poor often ignore. Why? Because expectation shapes experience. The rich expect favor, opportunity, and open doors. They walk into a room believing something good is waiting for them. They approach challenges, believing mercy will cover them. And because they live with expectation, they see opportunities where others see obstacles. The poor, on the other hand, often expect struggle. They wake up anticipating problems. They walk into situations expecting rejection. They live as if hardship is their destiny. And what happens? They usually find exactly what they expect. Life has a way of reflecting your mindset. This is the power of Psalm 23:6. It tells you to walk with expectation, to live as though goodness is chasing you down. Imagine that for a moment, not you chasing blessings, but blessings chasing you. Not you running after opportunities, but opportunities running after you. That is what goodness and mercy following you looks like. The rich may not always quote this psalm, but they live it. They expect connections. They expect favor. They expect breakthroughs. Even when things go wrong, they believe something good can still come out of it. That expectation fuels resilience, creativity, and boldness. The poor ignore this principle. Instead of saying, surely goodness will follow me, they say things like, I can't catch a break. Nothing ever works out for me. Life is against me. And guess what? They end up living in the very cycle they speak over themselves. Their words and their expectations become self-fulfilling prophecies. Let's pause here. Do you realize how powerful expectation is? It's like a magnet. When you believe goodness is following you, your eyes are open to see it. When you believe mercy covers you, your heart is ready to receive it. But when you expect only hardship, your vision is blinded and you walk past blessings without even noticing them. Mercy is also key here. Mercy means you don't always get what you deserve in your failures. Mercy means grace covers your mistakes. Mercy means you can fall and still rise again. The rich understand mercy in terms of risk. They know not every investment will succeed. Not every move will be perfect, but mercy covers them so they can recover and keep moving. The poor often ignore mercy. They believe one failure defines them forever. They allow guilt and shame to bury them. They think they are disqualified. They forget that mercy follows them all the days of their life, not just the good days, but even the broken ones. Here's the truth. You don't have to chase blessing. You don't have to beg for favor. You don't have to fear that mercy has run out. The shepherd says, surely. That means it's guaranteed. That means it's permanent. That means it's your inheritance. So stop expecting defeat. Stop expecting rejection. Stop expecting to always be the one who loses. Start walking with the confidence that goodness is behind you, covering every step. Start believing that mercy is on your side even when you stumble. Wake up each morning declaring, surely goodness and mercy will follow me today. Opportunities are looking for me, favors chasing me down. Mercy is covering my mistakes. I will walk in blessing. Because when you live with that expectation, your reality begins to shift. You see goodness in places you used to see emptiness. You find mercy in places you once felt condemned. You begin to live not as a victim of circumstance, but as a carrier of favor. The rich know this secret. They live with expectancy. The poor ignore it, living with doubt. But you can choose today will you live as though life is against you or as though goodness and mercy are chasing you. Remember, the psalm does not say maybe, it says surely. Live like it, believe like it, expect like it. At the end of the day, Psalm 23 is not a mystery locked away in some ancient scroll. It is not a secret reserved for a chosen few. It is written plainly, available to anyone who will open their heart to it. The shepherd is the same. The promises are the same. The words are the same. The only difference between the rich and the poor, between the bold and the fearful, is this. Some apply it and others ignore it. The rich know the psalm. They don't just recite it, they embody it. They live as though I shall not want is not just a verse, but their reality. They walk into life expecting green pastures, expecting restoration, expecting goodness, expecting mercy. And because they apply it, their lives reflect it. The poor, on the other hand, often ignore the psalm. They may know it by heart. They may even have it framed on their wall, but they don't let it sink into their mindset. They read it but live in fear. They repeat it but expect lack. They pray it but never believe it. In other words, they ignore the power inside of it. This is where the choice comes in. Every person who hears this psalm has to decide, will I live it or will I ignore it? Will I let it reshape my thinking or will I treat it as just another Bible verse to quote at funerals? You see, ignoring the psalm doesn't mean you hate it. It simply means you don't apply it. You allow worry, fear, and doubt to speak louder than God's promises. You live as though the shepherd is far away when he's right there beside you. You act as though lack is your destiny when abundance has already been declared over your life. But applying the psalm means making it personal. It means waking up each morning declaring the Lord is my shepherd. Today I will not lack. Today I will walk in green pastures. Today my soul will be restored. Today I will fear no evil. Today, goodness and mercy will follow me. When you apply it like this, it becomes more than words. It becomes your lifestyle. Think about it. Two people can face the same challenge. One ignores the psalm and is paralyzed by fear. The other applies the psalm and walks forward in faith. Same situation, different outcome. The difference is not the valley. The difference is the mindset. And this is why some people rise while others remain stuck. It's not that God loves the rich more than the poor. It's not that opportunities are scarce. It's that the rich apply the principle while the poor ignore it. Let me give you a clear example. A person who applies the psalm faces a financial struggle and says, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Provision is on its way. That expectation drives them to seek opportunities, to stay hopeful, to act with courage. Meanwhile, another person in the same situation says, life is unfair. I'll never make it. I guess I'm destined to struggle. That hopelessness shuts every door before they even knock. Both read the same verse, but only one applied it. The truth is, God has not changed. His promise has not changed. The shepherd has not changed. The psalm has not changed. The only thing that changes is your choice. So what will it be? Will you ignore the psalm like so many do, reading it, quoting it, but never living it? Or will you apply it, making it your declaration, your mindset, your daily reality? The rich know and apply it. The poor ignore it. But today, you stand at the crossroads. Your future is not written in your circumstances. It is written in your choices. Choose faith over fear. Choose abundance over lack. Choose confidence over doubt. Choose to live the psalm, not just recite it. Because when you choose to apply it, you won't just know about green pastures. You will lie down in them. You won't just read about restoration. You will experience it. You won't just imagine goodness and mercy. You will live it. The choice is yours. Apply it or ignore it. The decision will define everything.